Welcome all. We are live on YouTube, our YouTube channel, which we will share with you later, so that the session will remain recorded with you if you want to refer to it sometime. And we deliberately chose ecosystems today because it's a topic of great relevance to all of us, to our world, to our children, to our future generations. And a state like Sikkim and much of Northeast is actually the states which provide much of our needed oxygen to this part of the world. And I hope that we are able to value our ecosystems much more. So, so let's begin, friends. See, some of you would be new, so a few norms of how we take sessions. One is we really want your participation, but in so many people, participation by speech is not practical. So you will have to participate through chat. So you will have to write your responses, questions, or whatever, your comments on the chat box. If in between somebody wants to speak, then they can ask us on the chat box and we will unmute them. Right, so that's the first rule. We will generally stick to English because I believe many people are not familiar with Hindi here. As a team, we can handle Hindi and English both. If you have trouble hearing us or any other problem, please write on the chat box and one of the team members will guide you how to attend the session better or be more effective. Another thing is that all our sessions are actually from the point of view of children, how you can present the session to children. So in a way, we are placing you in the place of children in your classroom, and you will see that many questions we ask will be those you can use in your classroom, or similar questions you can raise in your classrooms. Because we have to, the biggest challenge in teaching is actually seeing knowledge from the point of view of the child, from the point of view of a fresh learner. And as a very important principle, sometimes we also point out the principles that we are using. So here you will see that we will start the session with the existing knowledge children have about organisms or living beings in their surroundings. So let's begin, friends. I will share my screen and you will see that we begin with questions raised to children that can be raised to children in a classroom, but here we will expect you to answer them. So please answer on the chat box. This whole series is supported by Indian Oil Corporation Limited. So the first question is very simple. Which living beings visit your house and which are not your pets? Which living beings actually visit your house uninvited? So give some examples. So insects, what else? Cockroach, rat, deer, wow. So what, any others? Mosquitoes, ants, bats, dogs, snake, flies, excellent. Microbes, wow. Lizards, sometimes frogs, bees, insects and cockroach, rodents, lichens, monkeys, excellent. So yes, so birds, yes, caterpillars, absolutely. So depending on which area we live, a lot of them come to our houses. Butterflies, yes. So here we have shown a spider, but yeah, a whole lot of other beings visit our house. And the question is, why do you think they prefer our house over the surroundings? They are coming in because something is attracting them. So what is it? So somebody said dragonfly also. So people have said food is attracting them, light is attracting them, shelter, lesser number of predators. So there's safety, right? So food, light, shelter. Uh, One response is poor sanitation. So maybe what the person means, what the teacher means is that sometimes there are, like, if we have poor sanitation, it would attract, say suppose flies. Rotting material will attract some insects. So correct. Somebody has even said color might attract them, and Prem Kumar is saying searching mattings also. So maybe there are mattings in our house which attract them. Okay. So there is something definitely which is beneficial for them. So they are coming. So, and yes, we have already said what they are getting from our house. Perhaps food, shelter, like you said, maybe lights, maybe, I mean, their prey. So here, when we ask these questions to children, they are typically able to say only food and shelter. So actually, we decided to pose more questions to children so that they are able to think about more needs for animals. So here there's an example that a pigeon comes into my house, builds a nest, but as soon as the babies grow up, they fly away. So, I mean, they came for dwelling, they came for breeding, right? But then why do they go away? That means our house does not provide everything that they need. Okay, so one response is predators fear. So they fly away because of predators fear, or you're saying they are coming into our house because of predators fear? Okay, so one response to the current question is they fly away in search of food. So okay, one need is food. So they may come into our house for food, or they may even go away for food because we are maybe the young pigeons are unable to feed themselves. Norbu is saying to learn to survive on their own. Yes. So their real dwelling is outside in nature, and they have to learn to survive there. Birds need to migrate also. They need more space to develop. Mala Pradhan has said in search of mates. Excellent. Yes. So they need mates which will not exist in our house. So as we explore these questions, we see more and more of their needs for spaces. I mean, migration is an excellent response. So they need spaces and they want to live in their natural surroundings. And yeah, so cozy shelter may be there in our own house, or maybe outside is cozier. Uh, one response is that food, they leave for food especially. Yes, perhaps outside there is more food or more variety of food available, or maybe we are not providing food at all. So they need to survive themselves. Yes, so essentially we are exploring the question of survival and organisms needs. What do living beings need? So actually you will see that you will need to push children to think more about uh, needs of organisms. So here's another example. A group of mice come and go. They come in sometimes but go away again. So firstly, why do they come? And then why do they go back again? Why do you think? So we have to think of specific needs. What survival needs are being met when they come in, and what survival needs make them go out? So sharing is saying coming in search for food and shelter. but they go away. Deepika is saying fear of getting killed by humans. Okay. And scared of traps. They may be scared of traps. So yeah, we may be their enemies. And so sharing Doma is saying they goes out because of predators. So maybe we are their predators, or we have cats or dogs or whatever. Yeah, so that's another response because of cats or dogs. They may go out for mating. So mating is an important need. Breeding and mating and giving birth to children and caring for the young is a very important need. So they go out. They have to find mates. Prakash Sharma has said they go away to train their little ones in the real environment. Yes, maybe. So that's important. Training their children, their offspring. So yeah, so they go away for that need. Is there any other need which we haven't taken so far for which they go out? Any other need which can be fulfilled only outside and not in our house? Can you think of any? Their habitat. Okay, so habitat is surroundings suitable for all their needs. So that habitat may not exist in our house. They may not get sunlight in our house, as Jayanti Bhattarai is saying. Temperature may not be appropriate in our house, maybe. Any other need that you can think of? Narzo is saying they cannot hear me. So Manisha, can you help, please? Searching for water for reproduction. Yes. So uh, here's another example that mosquitoes go away. They come in when they can, but they don't stay all the time. They go away. So here again, you can think about what needs, for which needs they come in and which needs they go away. Uh, Here's an example of a pet rabbit. So I'm coming to a pet now. So I provide for my pets all needs. So I kept a rabbit, they gave it food, shelter, comforts, protection. Still the rabbit doesn't seem happy. So what could be missing in its life? So one example is, one answer could be that reproduction, mating needs. Mating needs are not, then another need is freedom. So okay, maybe freedom is maybe a very important need for uh, organisms, independent life or lack of favorable environment. There's another need, okay, natural habitat, companion. So Sheetal Tamang has said companion. So actually they need companions, not necessarily mates alone, but uh, they may need community. They may need people like other beings like themselves, a population. They may need to live in a community. Many of them are social and they need a society. So, uh, so we are once again asking which are the needs which are not met usually in our household, which can't be met in our household. Which needs do you think cannot be met in our household? Prakash Sharma is saying particular ecosystem specific to the species. Yes, our house is not their natural habitat, uh, but natural environment is missing in our house. But yeah, so but we have what we are. I'm pushing you to think is, what does the natural environment provide? What does their natural habitat provide, which our house doesn't? So you have to specifically say what is it that a house is not providing. Natural environmental conditions provide what? So, okay, Norbo has said prey. So their natural prey may be in their natural habitat. Yes. What else? Safety. Okay, so we may be predators ourselves, or we may have cats or dogs. So what else can a habitat provide? Their natural habitat. So, friends, please notice that I'm deliberately pushing you appropriate temperature, freedom. I'm deliberately pushing you we do this with children so that children are able to expand their thinking and think of more needs organisms may have. Typically, children do not think beyond food and shelter. So when we say favorable environmental condition, we need to say what is favorable. So wider range of living beings to connect with. Another response has said no sound. So friends, my colleagues, please help. If somebody is not getting sound, what can they do? Okay, so now our job is to think of all the needs of a living being or organisms, all the needs. So, I mean, which we say that a natural habitat provides. So let's look at all the needs. So one set of needs is this: food, air, water, shelter, waste-free surroundings. No organism can live in its own waste, in its own excretion. So somehow they need to get rid of the waste. What is waste for them? Not what is waste for us. Of course, they need safety from predators. So these are one set of needs. Then there is these needs. They can grow without harm. They can live in a community. They can find partners to breed, and they can look after their children, or you can say look after their offspring. We do not use the word offspring because I mean, for our students, children is an easily understood word. So so peers, mates, like all of you are saying. Uh, so so our students need some amount of pushing to come up with many of these needs. So that's why you have to ask more questions, and our job as teachers is to push our students to think. We shouldn't do thinking for them. They should think with their own minds. And once you allow children to think through questioning, to come up with their own answers, they start reasoning beautifully. Children show amazing capacity to reason, and that's a job to make them do it, right? And so with questions and counter questions and so on, you have to push their limits of reasoning, which we'll do in this session. And we'll also show you the places where children struggle hard, what are the things they find very difficult to understand. So now we want you to list some, this is a natural pond, and we want you to list some living organisms here. Some you can see and many you cannot. So can you please make a list quickly? Fish, frog, algae, aquatic plants, tadpole, fishes, microorganisms, phytoplankton, duck, frogs, crabs, lizards, zooplankton, algae, crabs, tadpoles, mosquito, microbes, aquatic plants, insects, bacteria, crocodile. Excellent. Amoeba, very nice. Aquatic animals, arthropods, fleas, very nice. So see teachers, fungi, paramecium. So teachers, we can see that you all know a large variety of organisms, but that's not true of children. If you ask children this question, they'll be able to tell you only 5, 6. Very few actually. So, I mean, generally fish, duck, frog, just a few. Euglena. So actually, somebody has said hydra and snake. Yeah, so there are water snakes also, but surrounding the pond, there can be other kind of land snakes as well. So we can make it more specific. Organisms which are near the water surface and those that are near the pond bed. So any more that you can think of? Stork. Yes. Any others? Birds, migratory birds, excellent. Yeah, duck, herons, birds, zooplankton, octopus, thirsty animals, wow, crab. Yes, yes. So the more we think, the more we can come up with. And of course, each, I mean, depending on which area the pond is and the history of that pond, there can be many unique animals also. Sycon fish, okay, hydra. Can you recognize the ones that are shown on the screen here? Leeches. Yeah, so the central one is a leech, lotus, bryophytes, pteridophytes, uh, snails. Uh, what is this on the top right corner? Okay, centipede, lizard. Yeah, this one is a newt. Yeah, dragonfly. Yes, lotus, millipede. Yeah, this one is a leech. Yeah, but there would be millipedes also. Yes, lotus and water lilies. Here, salamander. Okay, yes. Here, can you recognize some? So it will be a good idea to show, if you can show a real pond, excellent. But even if you can show pictures and ask children if they can recognize, that will be nice. Frog eggs, dragonflies, tadpoles, and there are damsel flies also. So, and what is it here? The top left. So this is a water skater. So see, depending, I mean, many of you would know many more. My request is to expose your children to more than they know already. They'll know very few. And the important thing we should realize is that the composition of two ponds could really vary entirely. Some things would be common, but there can be organisms can differ very widely depending on where the pond is located. And of course, its own history of evolution. Now comes the natural question, who eats whom? So who eats whom? Here it's very obvious still. Who eats whom? This children quickly answer. So therefore I'll show that stork eat big fish fish eat small fish, fish eat worms or small insects. But the next question, what do these worms eat? If we ask that question, that's harder to answer for children, certainly. So one answer is that this worm eats soil. But please notice that soil itself does not make food. So there must be something in the soil which makes food. So even if it eats mud or ingests mud, there must be something in that mud. What does it eat? What does it live on? So one answer is microbes. Another answer is fungus in the soil. And one answer is they depend on decayed matter and microbes. So yes, so all these answers are correct. Microflora, yeah, but the thing is chill or decomposers. I mean, decomposed matter, diatoms, zooplanktons, phytoplanktons. Once again, all these terms are not known to children. So if you ask them like a very small organism, what does it eat? Typically, children are unable to think beyond this point. What does this worm eat? Or even a smaller organism you show and ask, what do they eat? children are unable to answer that question. So the question arises, what is the smallest living organism in a pond? Most of you would know, but still, what do you think is the smallest organism here?
Friends, I have to join from my phone because electricity just went in my house. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So, can Swapna ma'am or Manisha, can you take the responsibility of showing the PPT?
Yeah.
So one response is cyanobacteria, hydras, etc. So we were trying to think which is the smallest organism. So now this is something once again which would be news to most children, and an idea which you should build with them. So Swapna ma'am is just showing, just going to show her PowerPoint. So yeah, so one answer is zooplankton. So we'll have to introduce all these words, zooplankton, phytoplankton, etc. So the smallest living organisms is something children do not know. Swapna ma'am, are you able to show? It's loading. Yeah, we are able to see. So you'll have to go to the next slide. Next again. Yeah, so we were here and we were asking about the smallest living. Next slide, please.
This one, or finish this one?
Yes, next. Actually, now we have started talking about smaller organisms. So the smallest living organisms, as many of you have answered, are microscopic and we are unable to see. So first, let's ask this question. What is it that you see on the screen? Do you recognize this? Algae. So what is algae? Green algae. So we as teachers know, but children do not typically know the answer to this. They don't even see this as organisms. What are algae? Yeah, these are algae. So Radhika Thapa is giving its biological name. I'm asking in simple words, if you have to explain what algae are to children, what will you say? Green slimy organism. All right, green patches. Lichen is not algae alone. So Sonam is saying they would explain in their own language. So as somebody has given the formal definition of algae, basically they are the smallest living plants. I mean, they are very small living plants. Yeah, like Geeta Sapkota has said, they are very small living plants, non-flowering aquatic plants. Yeah, they are basically green plants. So, this is something we need to explain to children. So now, next slide. And since they are plants, they nobody needs to feed them, right? They make their own food. So Swapnama, next slide, please. And now we introduce plankton, which are very small plants and animals, and we have two types as the screen is showing you. So we have phytoplanktons, which are once again plants and green, and then there are zooplanktons, which are non-green or rather non-plant. They are animals. They are very small. So the thing is, this is of course news for children, that there are organisms like these, and these are often the smallest ones to be eaten. I mean, the visible small creatures would eat these, which are invisible, which are like microscopic. My internet has come, so let me see if I can. So, can you stop sharing? Let me see if I can share.
So it's important to understand that the smallest organisms making food are these tiny plants, and then everybody is eating them. They make their own food with sunlight, and rest of the world, I mean rest of the animal like organisms eat them. It's important that somebody in this world produces food first. So, which is the task of plants of all kinds, which is then eaten by animals. So this is a fact which should be explicitly explained to children, because we never see tiny plants. This is something they don't know. Now, what we are saying is that every organism in this pond is getting its need met in this environment. Like we first discussed the needs of all those organisms. You will remember that list. So we are saying the pond is making all these needs met. The need for food, need for shelter. How does the pond provide shelter? How do you think the pond is providing shelter? Okay, one response is inside stone. Yeah, so there are crevices or hidden parts, often at pond bed, so where many organisms hide. Any other way? Respiration source? Yes, sure. But right now, yeah, that is one need. But right now we are asking about shelter. So how will a pond provide shelter? So many organisms would be hiding inside stone. What about what others? Which other way shelter is provided? low visibility for predators. Excellent. Like there are many areas in the pond which will not even be visible. Inside mud, inside aquatic plants. Excellent. Geeta Sapkota is saying simplest plants are called thallophytes and simplest animals are called protozoa. Well, Swapna ma'am, you can clarify this.
One sec.
Some are hiding inside algae, not inside algae, but in between algae and inside sand and stones.
So inside algae, there is really that nothing can live inside, but I didn't get what the doubt was.
No, the doubt was previous to this. Like Geeta had said, simplest plants are called thallophytes and simplest animals are called protozoa. So,
yes, actually simplest
so
because algae do not have leaf, stem, root structure. So that way they are not considered plants. So that way she is right that smallest plants are simplest are thallophytes, and actually both protozoa and algae are considered primitive versions of plants and animals rather than calling them simplest or microscopic, because protozoa are like prototypes of animals. So simplest plants are thallophytes and algae are something from which plants have derived.
right. Thank you. Thank you, Swapna ma'am. So Swapna
Okay.
ma'am is our bio expert here. So I'm not a biologist, I'm a communicator, right? Okay, my, primary subject is something else. So, okay, so like people have said, inside sand and stones, inside soil or mud, on the leaf of aquatic plants, in between leaves, or on the surrounding the pond, even in big communities, like a lot of organisms would live in big shoals or swamps. For example, fish would often do it, but many others do it. So they get protection in the community. So thank you, Geeta Sapkota. She is explaining thallophytes' body is not differentiated into root, stem, and leaves. Right. So freedom from wastes. We had said this is an important need. So how does the pond give freedom from waste? I mean, surely if waste kept building up in the pond would get too dirty and there won't be enough oxygen or clean water. So how does a pond as a habitat provide freedom from wastes? Okay, so Sonam Ongmu is saying waste generated is consumed by microorganisms. Yes, because another response is because of decomposers. So there are organisms in that environment which would eat up waste produced by others. So yeah, so microbes digest waste. Geeta is saying we should not throw waste material in the pond. That's correct. Humans is a very separate story. Right now we are assuming that there's no human around, but like all organisms produce some kind of excretion. So that excretion is food for somebody else. So that way it doesn't build up. Only excreta doesn't build up. The like matter gets recirculated. We'll come to matter recirculation, but one thing important to know is that they are decomposers, which would actually digest that waste and produce other materials from it, simpler materials. Deepika Basnet is saying clean by human beings. We will currently not bring human beings in this equation because see, ponds and lakes have existed for millions of years when humans were not even available on this earth. So surely there must be some way for them for a pond to clean itself. So that's why there's freedom from waste. So organisms can live in a clean environment. Of course, debris gets settled down also, but there's always some settled down waste, but even that is eaten up and digested by some organisms. Safety, so shelter and safety we've just talked about. Breeding, so they find their mates in their community and looking after young. Can you say something about looking after young? I mean, Roshan Rai is saying faster decomposition by bacteria. Yes, there are bacteria especially for decomposition. So how does the pond provide an opportunity to look after young? I mean, think of fish and frogs and many other. Okay, so Aarti Sharma is saying they don't have to wander for food, so they can get to be with their young ones. To give continuity to their species, correct. I'm saying Redmi is saying by providing fresh oxygen. Correct. Yeah, they get fresh oxygen by photosynthesis by plants. That's true. But then there are people-induced activities. Sometimes, yes, we'll come to that. We'll come to that after a while, certainly. But so I was asking about young. So yeah, so there are shelter. I mean, they may make nests of some kind. But if they don't make nests, so sometimes like we know that frogs will stick their eggs or even leave their eggs in water or stick their egg. Many organisms will stick their eggs and produce eggs in large numbers. So that at least some can turn into young. Some may make special holes or nests or safety safe places for their young, for the egg stage or for other stages. Less competitors may or may not be true. There may be enough competition. That's a separate matter. But they, of course, they get their community in natural surroundings. Their community, if it's a social organism. There are organisms which are not social. They don't need community, but there are those that need community as well. Okay. Here's a very interesting video on how they eat. The video is, but they, of course, they get their community in natural surroundings. Their community, if it's a social organism. There are organisms which are not social. They don't need it, but there are those that need community as well. Okay. Sorry, I need to, there's double voice. I need to. Yeah, so Sunena Sharma is saying some fish keep their eggs and young ones in their mouth. Correct. So I was going to show this video, which is a video by a very beautiful, video by a very competent YouTube channel. Sorry, friends, I've lost my PPT. Just give me a second.
Our second feeding mechanism, maybe the most familiar and the most exciting, is called raptorial feeding. Raptorial feeders selectively capture prey and hunt other organisms. In this video, you can see Dileptus hunting. It paralyzes one organism with a touch of its trunk-like proboscis, and then it pulls that organism into itself in a process called phagocytosis.
How
Many of these microorganisms are armed with something called toxicysts. These are little harpoon-like structures filled with toxins, and they're located on a particular part of the cell which the microorganism uses for hunting. These tiny harpoons are then fired when they come in contact with prey organisms, which then become immobilized. This is Bursaria. It's a single-celled organism with a huge mouth, and things have not gone well for the paramecium that is now inside it. The paramecium dies immediately because of the toxicysts on the inside of the Bursaria, so at least it was quick. Now get ready for some truly gorgeous footage of a microanimal's day going south. First, Paradileptus immobilizes the rotifer with fired toxicysts, and the animal is swallowed by the single-celled organism as it swims away. This is Frontonia, which is a close relative of Paramecia, but it lacks the filter-feeding habits of its relatives and feeds predaciously on large diatoms and filamentous cyanobacteria, such as Oscillatoria here. Though in this case, it turns out this Frontonia bit off a little more than he could chew. Another raptorial feeding style is called histophagy. Histophagous organisms, such as these single-celled coleps, attack injured but live animals or other single-celled organisms, sucking off hunks of tissue rather than consuming whole organisms. When they attack an animal, they enter wounds and ingest tissue, often attacking in groups because their chemical sensing abilities attract many of them from a distance, like microscopic vultures. When a number of them gather in one place, it's hard to avoid another macro-world analog, piranhas, devouring everything soft in no time at all.
So I'll stop it here because this is a very interesting but long video, and you can we will share the link with you, and you can see it at leisure, because it shows multiple feeding methods and very, very beautifully captured how some are sucking the inside tissue, or they are ingesting the whole organism. Various feeding methods. Some are paralyzing their prey first, and so on. So this site, this YouTube channel is excellent actually, and it'll be good to show some of this in your class if possible, or at least tell children to see all this at home, because we never get to see this world. Of course, it would be excellent to see on a microscope if possible. Wait, I must exit this. So now we come to, now we're talking about if we keep an aquarium at home and we keep some organisms, it gets quickly dirty because of whatever waste excretion is given out by fish, or whatever food we give. If that food is not totally eaten, then it rots, and we have to clean it again and again. Cleaning becomes essential, but that's not necessary for a pond. I mean, a natural pond. So once again, the same question is asked: how does the pond water remain clean for a long time? Which we have already discussed, that there are organisms which can actually eat excreted waste as well as dead bodies. So there is all kinds of waste is recirculated. I mean, it's eaten by somebody, some organisms, and then and therefore the pond remains clean. The pond water looks clean even after hundreds or thousands of years. Now the question arises, what are the non-living things, non-living factors around a pond because of which a pond exists? I mean, what things are necessary without which the pond cannot exist? Non-living things. Soil, yes. Water, stone, rocks, terrain, mud. What else? Sand, stone, gravel, air, very important. What else? Topography, air, tree, stone, water, dissolved oxygen, yes. Temperature, pH, very important. If this area is too hot or too cold, then the pond may not exist. Sunlight, so important, without which photosynthesis will not happen. So light, sunlight has to be present for the pond to exist. Rainfall, for water to come in again and again. Yes, so there are so many of these non-living factors. Humidity, correct. So a certain amount of humidity maintains the environment and even living beings. So how do these support life in the pond? I mean, you can give some examples. There are multiple interactions, multiple ways in which life is supported by these factors, the factors you named. So you can say how correct temperature range support life, how pH supports life, how sunlight supports life. So can you give some examples? How oxygen supports life, how rocks support life, rocks or mud. So it's important to say how each of these support life. Then only the interaction becomes clearer. How does soil support life? So you have to say how the factor that you mentioned. So many factors have been mentioned. So how do they support life? How does the correct temperature support life? Providing food and shelter is general, but you have to say specifically. So sunlight is definitely important for the photosynthesis. Yes, very correct. What else? Soil provides minerals. Excellent. Yeah, without soil, there are so many essential minerals without which living beings cannot live. Water supports life by dissolving oxygen, providing it to aquatic life. Yes, it's also the medium in which aquatic life lives and also swims. From soil, some organisms get their food. Yeah, it's normally organic matter inside soil. Yeah, oxygen supports life because it's needed for respiration. So yeah, soil provides platform also. Soil is home to many organisms. Also, yeah, so soil has spaces inside, or the soil is porous, so there is many organisms live inside. Medium of nitrogen. Yeah, so nitrogenous substances. ML Sherpa is saying optimum temperature helps in body metabolism of aquatic all organisms. If the correct temperature range is not there, a large number of organisms cannot exist at all. If the temperature is suppose -10, a lot of organisms will die. If the temperature was, let's say, 60 or 70 degrees centigrade, a lot of organisms will die. So pH determines the type of habitat that will exist, but even correct pH also, I mean, many organisms will not be able to live if it's too acidic or too alkaline or too salty. So yeah, rocks provide shelter, correct? Yeah, so it will be good if we can push children also to think how each of these is supporting life. The thing is, whenever these things are taught, often the nuance, the details are not brought out for children, and therefore they do not they understand it only superficially. We'll tell you what our experience with children was in this topic particularly. We'll come to that also. But it's very important to build this interaction. And since we said temperature, rainfall, humidity, sunlight, so let's see. I mean, here are pictures of a pond, how it changes with seasons. So here in this season, we can see that uh, uh, water is less and life as it's existing has changed, uh, is different, and here water has gone completely. So a whole lot of organisms would have gone, either died or gone away somewhere. So but some life would remain, some plants would remain, those that can survive, but we can see a lot of dead matter as well. Dead plant matter is very clearly visible. Here also, I mean, suppose the pond dries up, what happens to living organisms when a pond dries up? What do you think happens? Yes, some of them will perish, definitely. But then will the life end forever for that pond? Some die, some migrate. But what happens to many others? Aquatic plants and animals die. Yeah, but I mean, they must be trying to maintain their species somehow. So how do they do it? Yeah, some make adaptations. So there are fish which can live inside wet mud, but but how would, like, if the plant dies, what remains? Or even if an organism dies, often what remains? Uh, Fossils is not what remains. Fossils do not get developed within a year or within a few years. Fossils require millions of years. But I'm asking, suppose the season becomes dry and there's no water. So what will happen? I mean, so Sunaina Sharma is saying that plants or dying animals, decaying animals will generate humus, correct? So humus will feed the next generation. That's one way life is continued. That's an excellent answer. But yeah, there'll be ecological imbalance in one way, but there may be ponds which dry every summer. So how does life continue? So yeah, they leave organic matter, they leave nitrogenous substances. Aarti Sharma is saying quiescent. Aarti, can you explain what you mean by that? Geeta, right now we are not talking about the earth. We are talking about this pond, which has dried up, and perhaps it dries up every summer. So Anjali Thapa has said some organisms undergo a dormant phase also. Yes, correct. So uh, they leave some part of themselves in a way which can come back to life the moment water returns. Plants may leave their roots, for example, roots or some other part which will come back to life as soon as water comes back, and they live in a dormant stage, or they may leave eggs or spores or some part which can come back to life as soon as water comes back. So they may maintain a reproductive cycle or some kind of cycle. Some will hibernate. Excellent. Yeah, so some will hibernate. It will affect everything. It will the constitution of the pond will change. The populations will change, but even like some of you said, even in dying, many animals or plants leave behind important minerals or organic matter which will feed life later. So now we have created a list of living beings in a pond, and Tupten is saying loss of niche. Yes, correct. This may be true for some, may not be true for some. So we have listed some living factors, some non-living factors, and actually the exercise is, this is a classroom exercise. Right now we'll not do it, but actually making children do this is very, very valuable, that you ask children to make as many connections between any two of these things, from left hand side to right hand side, make connections by drawing a line. So you encourage children that suppose they say that insects, suppose, can exist only at a correct temperature. Maybe. I mean, if they draw a line, they have to say what connection there is between this and this. I mean, algae will need light for photosynthesis and so on. I mean, like, give time. This exercise will need time, but encourage as many connections as children can, because then only they really realize, when they think clearly about how this one is dependent on this factor, how this one is dependent on that factor, then they realize that there are dependencies, interdependencies. We say that word very often, but interdependency is not understood very well by children. We realized that very clearly when we ran this with children. We realized that unless we make them do these exercises, children will not actually appreciate the things that we say. There are many things we say that there's a lot of interdependence between living beings and non-living beings. But to make children realize, you should make them do this exercise and give at least one period to do this, or give this as homework. Right? Now coming to what constitutes an ecosystem, the word ecosystem itself. So when we did this with children, we asked all these questions. Still we realized later, so after that we changed the session, suitably changed the session. We realized that it was hard for children. It is hard for children to understand the word system, understand the word eco, and understand the word interactions. I mean, interaction is a word which will, or for that matter, interdependence, interaction, system. These are heavy words. These are heavy words which hide a lot or which cover a lot. So that what they cover is not clearly seen by children. So they really don't appreciate when we say what is an ecosystem. So the more detail you discuss with children or make children build that detail, the better it will be understood. That's why a lot of arrows will be built when we place on one side all living beings or biotic factors, as we say, and all non-living things or abiotic factors. We place them and ask children to build these arrows of dependence. How this one depends on how one side depends on the other. So, I mean, there is dependence on the other side also. Soil is also created by a lot of organisms. They contribute to the soil's composition, change the soil's composition. Water is taken in and given out also. Air is also, gases are taken in and given out also. So there's so both are dependent on each other, but of course, living beings have a lot of dependence upon non-living factors. Jayanti is saying interactions of living organisms with each other with physical and chemical factors. Correct. Jayanti, that's what. Yeah, so Geeta is saying interrelations between living and non-living things in the environment is known as ecosystem. Yes, what I'm saying is that this definition is written in textbooks. This definition is often memorized by children also, but not understood. These words, interrelations, dependencies, system, ecosystem, interactions, these are actually difficult words for children to understand. That's what I'm trying to say. So this word interaction must be opened up for children. I mean, if I ask you, how will you explain interaction to children? You tell me. Because many of you are using this word interaction. I'm asking, how will you explain it to children? I mean, if any of you want to speak and say, that's also possible. Galaxy J7 has said ecosystem is structural and functional unit of ecology. My request is that as teachers, we must think in terms of how children will make sense of this. Any sentences we say, any words we use, how children will understand. As adults, we may understand, but we may have taken years and years through our BSc or MSc or whatever education we went through. We took years to understand that. So, so Khushbu has said passing of energy from one organism to another. She has said interaction. She will explain it this way. Khushbu, can you try making it even simpler for children? Passing of energy is not simple to understand. Naresh Gurung is saying, yes, easy to understand with this kind of pictures. Yes, we must make it as visual as we can. As many pictures we can show, but also if you have to say interaction. Sonam has said to face each other. Facing each other is not enough. Galaxy J7 is saying living organism which is interacting with environment. I'm asking, explain interaction to children. How will you explain? Roshan Rai is saying plants and animals are found in an area, but that's not interaction. Sunaina Sharma is saying leaving an influence on each other, but that's not enough explanation for somebody to understand. Dependence on each other. So you have to give examples, explain giving examples, giving specific concrete example. Samsung is saying safe and best place where organisms can live in harmony. Not necessarily in harmony. Many of them are predator and prey. So here Sheetal has said interaction, how you and your friends talk and play with your friends. You and your friends meet each other. Okay, so talking and playing is one type of interaction, right? It's one kind of interaction. What are the kind of interactions? Yeah, need for air to survive. So what is the interaction? Naresh Gurung is saying bringing some soil with non-poisonous insects. Naresh, sorry, I didn't understand what you're trying to say. Please elaborate. Norbu is saying where biotic and abiotic things live in a symbiotic relationship. Norbu, that's very complex. That's a textbook sentence. Textbook sentences are not directly understood by children. My request to everybody, we have to try using language which children can. So Khushbu has said we take in air and give out carbon dioxide to plant. Yes, that's one kind of interaction. We take in air, give out carbon dioxide, and which plants absorb. So that's our relationship, our interaction with plants. Yangchen has said to me directly, Yangchen, please say publicly, give and take between organisms, but you'll have to say concretely what is being given out, what is given, what is taken. So soil and plants also, you have to describe it. Describe it yourself, ask children to describe. I'm saying the detailing has to be done. should be explained through videos and pictures, but ask. See, if you will ask children, they are forced to think through. They are forced to observe more. One very major job we have as teachers is drawing attention. Children know many things, they notice many things, but you have to make them think deeply. So draw attention, ask them to reason. So what kind of interaction between this and this, between this and this, between this and this? So Khushbu saying we water plant for their growth. Okay, this is one kind of interaction. So Babita is saying planting a plant, providing. Yeah, so these you are saying in their own home, one kind of interaction, but I would request that you try for interactions within a natural ecosystem. So within a natural ecosystem, Binay Taman is saying symbiosis. We'll come to symbiosis and those kind of interactions, formal names, but much more than names and words. Children should understand what is the meaning of those words. And for meaning, they need examples. They need to get into that kind of detail. This is one topic, ecosystems, which requires a lot of detail, lot of drawing attention, lot of detailing, lot of observation, lot of reasoning. So you should, as teachers, it will really help if we push our children to do so. It is 12:19 and the session is till 1:30. So can we take a 5-minute break? So Khushbu has said, if there's no rain for a few days, then plants start dying. So plants are dependent on rain, right? So that's one kind of interaction. Pema is saying it is interaction between living and non-living environment classroom. So one example of ecosystem. I'm saying please come with concrete examples and concrete descriptions. So root of leguminous plants give shelter to rhizobium bacteria, which fix nitrogen for protein synthesis to leguminous plants. Right. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll continue. We are coming to more challenging parts of this session. We'll come to more challenging parts. Though as teachers, one can see that you all know quite a lot, but our job is also to see that children understand all these things. So let's take a 5-minute break. This timing is, Manisha, please write timing. So friends, it's 12:25. So some of us are back, some are not, but anyway, I mean, people will come. So for interactions, some of you are talking about food chains. We are soon coming to food chains and symbiosis and other kind of interactions which are formally defined. But what I wanted you to do just now was to actually talk about real interactions in concrete terms. In concrete terms, so that children can see this thing interacts with this thing in such a manner. And the more you push children to think of interactions themselves, the better it will be for them. I mean, they will realize this an ecosystem much better. I mean, the first time we took this session with children, we realized they had a really hard time understanding the word system, or I mean, what it really means. In the end, some questions really started with us. They asked us if water is an ecosystem. Then we realized, Arvinder is saying, yes, we are teaching students, so interacting with them. So talking is one way of interaction, right? Yeah, but right now it will be good to give examples of an ecosystem, various kinds of interactions within an ecosystem, between living beings, but also between living beings and non-living factors, biotic and abiotic factors. It will be so I mean, there is a very good game also on this web of life. I mean, I don't know if you are familiar. I can describe the game, but in a real classroom, it's very successful, where you make children turn children into one factor each. So suppose I am a mosquito, somebody is a tree, somebody is a duck, somebody is sun, somebody is water. So children have they have these placards, paper pieces on which their name is written. And so the game is normally started with the sun. And a big ball of rope or wool is taken. So the sun starts the game. Everyone is, all the factors, biotic and abiotic, are standing in a circle. They stand in a circle, and the sun starts the game with this ball of wool or rope. The rope has to be long. And then the sun has to first take the end of the rope, tie it to its finger, and then throw to someone saying what relation this factor has with the other factor. Anybody who has to throw the ball, has to first tie with its finger 1 or 2 rounds, and then throw the ball to the other one, saying what is the interaction. So the sun can throw to the tree, suppose, saying, I give light to the tree so that the tree can photosynthesize. Tree can throw to water and say, I depend on water for transpiration, maybe, whatever. I mean, like, children have to say, I depend on this one. Yeah, I do this with this one. So with each interaction, so everyone gets a chance, and the ball is thrown again and again and again, and very soon a full web develops, a full web of interaction develops. It's called web of life. A huge web develops, a huge and complicated web develops. But anyone who gets the ball has to tie it to his or her finger and throw to somebody else, naming the interaction. So this whole web is built. So there are 2 things people can do with this web. Once this web is built, you can say that an ecosystem is a web of interactions. One is that. Second is, you can, like, 2 variations are done to this. One is that the rope is cut somewhere. The moment one rope is cut, a lot of interactions crash. so the web gets badly affected. So it is, the interdependence comes out beautifully, that if the web of life is disturbed some way, then many organisms are affected. So that is one thing which can be shown through this. Another is, you can ask some factor, suppose tree or mosquito or fly or any or deer, anyone, to take 2 steps back. So if the rope is pulled in one direction, if one person's finger is pulled in one direction, the whole web comes into tension. So one can show tension, and everyone feels a lot of stress on their fingers. So you can show that scarcity of one thing can lead to a lot of stress on rest of life, rest of interaction. Scarcity, or one thing dying, one thing diminishing, one factor going wrong, can affect so many others. So all this is shown very well through this game. You can do it in your classroom, but obviously you cannot do it here in a webinar. But my suggestion is, please try it. It's an excellent game, excellent classroom game, which builds the idea of interactions and a web of life very well. So coming back, this definition, what does the word eco mean? What do you think it means? Rajesh, when you are giving a meaning, you cannot use the same word. Eco doesn't mean ecology. I mean, it uses the word, eco uses ecology. You have to explain the word. Eco means life, okay? Norbu is saying environmentally friendly. This is one usage. When we say something is eco-friendly, we mean environmentally friendly, but this is one kind of usage. This is not what eco means in ecosystem. Living environment, natural habitat. Nature, not to harm. Once again, it does not mean not to harm. It, a much closer meaning is living environment. It doesn't mean environmentally friendly or sensitive. It is used in those terms. These days, I mean, we say that we should have eco-friendly actions, we should have eco-friendly products. So that's a specific usage. But one answer is physical and biological world. Nature, eco means environment. Essentially, eco is relations of organisms to one another and to their environment. I mean, it is relations. Basically, what we were talking about, interactions or relations. So living organisms, their relations with one another and with their environment. That's what actually eco means. So that's like one definition of ecology, one definition of eco. You can look for better definitions, definitely. But it definitely means relations. Relations which is interdependent. Yes. Yes, so Prem Kumar is saying environment communicate with organisms, eco. So therefore eco means relations with organisms. Relationship between biotic and abiotic factors. What does the word system mean? See, children have a huge problem understanding these two words. So that's why we are explicitly asking. Arvinder Singh is saying system means organized. Raju is saying to be friendly with environment without harming. Sharab is saying it's working. No, he said organization, working together, study. System is not study. Interrelations, method. Okay. So the word system is an interconnected or organized network. A network system must have many things, many factors, many players, many participants. So for example, you are working in an education system. So education system has so many teachers, children, so many institutions, so many schools, directorate, all that. So and they are interconnected with each other. So it has so many participating bodies and people, and they are interconnected. They are interrelated in so many ways. So system is an interconnected network, and the word eco is relations of organisms, living organisms with one another and their environment. So ecosystem is a complex word. So we are trying to open that word out a little more. So it's interactions, interconnections, or relations of all kinds within species. So one type of birds with its own community within themselves, with its children, with its community, with the same kind of birds, with other species. So birds will have relations with other birds, with insects, with grasses, with trees. So all that, and with the environment. So birds will have relations with water, and of course, everything else in their environment. So all these connections, all these relations, eco encompasses, eco actually shows all this. It holds all this. So therefore, the word ecosystem is a very complex word. It's a large word, which is like all the biotic factors, which means living beings, plus all the abiotic factors, the non-living things amongst which the living beings are living, and the totality of their interactions, total number of relations that they have. All the large number of interactions which we've been talking about. So the totality of their interaction, all the interactions, right? So I think this definition requires the slow development and explanation. Slowly we must build this definition. We should not just say it in a single sentence or two sentences, or not make children memorize the textbook definition. That's just not enough. Is there any comment or any question, anything that you want to say just now? Any doubt? Before I move on to something more. I mean, so far we have come to the definition of an ecosystem. Now we will go to the next part. Please feel free to stop me and ask anything you want to ask or say or comment, right? So this is the famous diagram where we show various definitions that we normally talk about. So a single living being is called an organism. And when a lot of same type of organisms live together, they are concentrated in one area, we call it a population, one region. And then a community of organisms is more than one organism. So there's, as we can see, there are deer. So this is a population of deer. Here there are deer, there are zebras, there are nilgais or vultures, and there are like maybe lions. So this is a forest community which has been shown here. And then an ecosystem is all this community, deer, and there are ant hills, and there are elephants and trees, and then water birds. all that living within the natural environment, non-living factors, sun, clouds, sky, air, water, rain, ponds, and so on. And so this is like one ecosystem. I mean, here, like a forest ecosystem. And then our biosphere on Earth is the totality of the regions, the totality of region on our Earth where the living world exists. So the biosphere has all the living world living with the non-living world. So all the living world along with the non-living environment. So that's called the Earth's biosphere. So these the diagrams are self-explanatory, but these are definitions which come in, and we must help children to see definitions visually. Now coming to direct interactions of living beings. So here one simple way we can do it is by using plus minus 0. When there is 0, it means no effect. Minus means negative effect, and plus means positive effect. So as you can see, two pairs, like pair is taken A and B. So effect on A and effect on B, and we have filled in two rows for you. So when cattle trample on grass, the grass is crushed. So on cattle, when cattle is walking on grass, the effect on cattle is 0. They don't get affected. But the grass, the effect is negative. The grass gets crushed. So this is mine. Similarly, we have given another example here. Lion eats zebra. So for lion, it is positive. Lion gets food. Zebra dies. So for it is negative. Lice in hair. So lice gets food. So it's positive for lice. For hair of whatever organism, I mean, here we should have written hair of an organism. For that organism, it is negative because it loses blood. So can you say for other pairs? How about rabbit and deer? I mean, you have to say 0, 0, plus, minus, or whatever. In terms of 0, plus, and minus, rabbit and deer. Yeah, Geeta Sapkota has said part of universe where life exists is known as biosphere. Correct. I mean, right now we say only the Earth, but of course life can exist elsewhere also. So can you say, I mean, this exercise is a simple exercise which can be given to children to do, plus minus 0. So for the first one, it will be rabbit and deer live together. So what will it be? Plus, plus, minus, minus, 0, 0, plus, minus, minus, plus. What will it be? You have to say effect on A, effect on B. So Babita, you have to say whether the effect on rabbit A is 0, plus, or minus. Similarly, the effect on deer is 0, plus, or minus. So far, two people have said 0 and 0. When they live together, they do not affect each other. That's what two people are saying. Does everyone agree, or you have a different opinion? So more people are saying 0, 0. Yeah, so if there is sufficient grass, then maybe 0, 0. Yeah, so Meeta Chaturvedi has said that it depends on food availability, that if food is less, then they may become competitors. Or if there is a predator, then it's possible that the predator eats one of them and the other one is safe. So they may have some negative effect or some positive effect on each other. This is birds live in the hollows of trees. So birds and trees are A and B. So you have to say whether it is, what is the interaction in terms of 0, plus and minus. Birds and trees. Birds plus trees 0. This is one response. Any other? Roshan Rai is saying 0 and 0. But then do you see 0 and 0? If you are saying for the first one or the second, this one? Because birds do benefit by living in trees. Deepika Sharma is saying plus and minus. Deepika sees the tree getting harmed. Deepika, can you say how do you see the tree getting harmed? ML Sherpa thinks birds plus tree 0. Acha, Roshan Rai is saying for the second one. So Roshan Rai, I mean, you think that birds have no benefit of living in tree hollows? So many people are saying plus and 0. Layden is saying plus and plus. So Layden, you have to say how you see the tree benefiting because of the bird living in its hollows. Many people think plus and 0. Okay, Sharing is saying when birds live in trees, there is possible scattering of seeds. Excellent. So he sees this as plus and plus. Yeah, so friends, there can be other viewpoints to this exercise, which is excellent. Why should there be a single correct answer? There can be more correct answers. Except that we should be able to justify our answer. And that's what children should be able to do. They should be able to support their answer with reasoning. So Sukheng is saying 0 and 0. So if your answer is not plus and 0, then you have to explain what is your viewpoint. So trees also need some kind of fruit for itself, Deepika is saying. So I don't understand, Deepika. So you think that it's harmful for the trees or positive for the trees? So Sukheng is saying there's no effect of bird on plants, but for the bird, it's positive, right? Bird gets a shelter. Bird gets to live. So birds plus trees minus, as the hollow might hamper transportation of mineral and water. This is Nakchi Lepcha's answer. Excellent. He sees it, he or she. I don't know whether this is a male name or a female name, but the answer is very good because there's a different viewpoint here, which is very nice. If you have a different viewpoint, it's very nice. So lions and cheetahs feed on a similar prey. What do you think? Lions and cheetahs have the same prey. So what is the effect on both of them? Bees and flowers plus and plus. Yeah, we know bees and flowers both benefit. That's a simpler one. But how about lion and cheetah? Geeta is saying birds do not harm trees, but they help in dispersal of seeds. That's correct. But like just now we had another viewpoint that if the bird is creating a hollow, then it will obstruct the flow of water and minerals. So if the bird is creating the hollow, for example, those, what are those called? Those make hollows. I'm forgetting the name. So lion and cheetah minus minus because there is competition for food. Yes, correct. Lion and cheetah both minus. That's also easier to see. So friends, that brings us to the next slide. Okay, which is filled in from our side, but like I said, this is not essential. What we have said is not essential. If there is another reasoning, it should be welcome in a classroom, as long as the reasoning is logical. So there are many kinds of direct interactions which are also defined. Lion and cheetah plus Rajesh, how are both benefited if both eat the same prey? You have to say plus means both are benefiting. Sukhain is saying plus and plus because both can get their needs through the competition. How does competition fulfill both needs? Rajesh is also saying because of competition. So how will competition fulfill both their needs, lion and cheetah? Cheetah is scared of lion. So that will be harmful for cheetah, right? So cheetah will not go where lion is hunting. Is there any positive benefit for cheetah? I mean, those people who are saying plus, you have to justify your answer. Okay, Rajesh is saying make them aware for food. Okay, so he's saying that one may hunt and make the other one aware for food, possible. But competition is normally harmful because food scarcity can easily arise because of competition. So let's come to direct interactions which have some names. What is this called? This one where a cheetah is hunting a deer. We have a name for this direct interaction. What is it called? Predation. So this is called predation. One is called predator, one is called prey. What about this? Both of these are living together. What is the name given to this? They both eat grass and they are living together. What is this called? This is not symbiosis. Symbiosis is where they have dependence on each other, beneficial dependence. This can be competition if there is insufficient grass, but if there is sufficient grass, there can be neutralism. They don't affect each other. And there's sufficient grass, both of them are eating themselves. So it can be neutralism. Mutual relation must also have some kind of dependence. Their interaction can be completely neutral also. Though, as I hear, like many ecologists do not believe in neutralism. They say neutralism can always be challenged because there's always some effect of one or two organisms living nearby each other in the same habitat. There's always some. So even like we already discussed, deer and rabbit may affect each other in some way. Maybe the predator eats one of them and saves the other. Maybe this food becomes scarce. So there will be some effect. So that's why, I mean, think of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes may bite one of them more and leave the other. So therefore, some ecologists do not even agree with neutralism because they are sharing the environment. Yeah, right. Indirect effects. There are indirect effects too. So direct interactions, what is this one? Yeah, they are called herbivores. So herbivores may have indirect effects on each other. So what is this effect? This interaction between bee and flower, what is this called? Both are benefiting. Yeah, pollination, but this kind of interaction. Pollination, this is this specific symbiosis. Symbiosis is when this is symbiosis or mutualism, where both are benefiting each other. Both are dependent on each other and both are benefiting. Yeah, so symbiosis or mutualism. What about this one? Both here, the wild dog are fighting over this deer. What is this? competition. Competition can be between same or different species. What is this? This is between tree and bird. Between tree and bird. Yeah, this is also a kind of mutualism, but it is also called commensalism, where the effect is not much. I mean, a bird builds its nest on the tree doesn't get affected, the bird doesn't get. Bird is benefiting actually, but like there's really no effect on each other. So, what is this one? The mosquito is sucking the blood of a human. Parasitism. So one of them is benefiting, the other is getting harmed. So one must get harmed for us to call it as a parasite. Right. So this is some names of interactions of living beings. Now we'll come to some very ticklish questions. Is this an example of an ecosystem, an aquarium in your house? You have to justify your answer. If you think that this is ecosystem, why? If you think it's not an ecosystem, why not? Anjali Thapa is saying artificial ecosystem. Anjali Thapa, we have already defined an ecosystem. So you have to say whether it meets our definition. So Khushbu has said yes. If you have said it's an ecosystem, you have to say why you think it's an ecosystem. And if somebody disagrees with her, then they have to say their reason. How many of you agree that it's an ecosystem? You have to say yes. Okay, Rajesh is saying it is an ecosystem because it has both biotic and abiotic. Khushbu is saying because there is producer, consumer, and decomposer. Layden is saying yes because they are interdependent. Is there anybody who's saying it's not an ecosystem? Sharing is saying because although small, the biotic and abiotic factors are interactive. Anybody is saying it's not an ecosystem? Or everyone agrees that it's an ecosystem? Geeta is saying food materials are in limited quantities. Actually, in an aquarium, food is supplied from outside. And if you are maintaining the aquarium, you may give food to fish. Norbu is saying artificial ecosystem. Norbu, if you say artificial ecosystem, you'll have to define artificial ecosystem. We just asked whether it's an ecosystem. And somebody who's named himself or herself ecosystem is saying no. Now you have to say why it's not an ecosystem. Rajesh is saying it's a type of adaptation. Munna Chetri is saying it's not considered as natural ecosystem. You have to say why not. Why can't you say it's an ecosystem? If you are disagreeing that it's not an ecosystem, you have to say why. See, we have not come to natural or artificial ecosystem. By definition, an ecosystem is natural. So Sukhang is saying it contains all the components for an ecosystem. But I'm saying those who are, if there's anybody who disagrees, has to say why it's not. So it contains all the components, which means microorganisms. But one objection came because of food. That there is no food for the organisms, no, you have to feed the fish. So somebody has to give food from outside. So one objection. Any other objection? So another objection has come because it is not self-regulatory. It needs human involvement for food and cleaning as well. Excellent. Nakchi Lepcha has said, it's not self-regulatory. It needs human involvement for food as well as cleaning. Very important. So, any other objection? Raju is saying they can grow and develop in healthy and balanced. But you see the objection just raised just now. If you suppose as a human you leave the ecosystem aquarium for 2 months, it will get dirty and your fish may die. So healthy and balanced is maintained by you. So Sheetal is saying not natural, it's man-made. Yes, that's true. But why we cannot call it an ecosystem? Okay, Geeta has said the plants and animals are not free to adapt their features. Yes, I mean, like, it's possible that you may pluck out some plants and throw them away, or you may cut them, or you plant some plants of your choice. So Dependra has said not controlled by nature, it is artificial backing done by authority. The human is the authority. Any other objection? Dependent on us. Yes, dependent on an outside agency. Correct. So, any other objection? So, we are seeing some problems. Closed artificial ecosystem. See, if we say it's a closed artificial ecosystem, we'll have to define it. We have not given any definition of a closed artificial. So, Galaxy JS7 is saying this is not sufficient. So, some objections have come. You can raise other objections. There are more objections. So Pooja Kharyal is saying there's no food chain here. Maybe there is some food chain. Maybe there is not. You have to say if there is no food chain. Others have to say what food chain exists. Rajesh is saying limited space. Limited space may be true for a natural ecosystem also. I mean, if it's a small pond, a small what is it called, a rain-filled depression, that may develop into an ecosystem. Ecosystems can be small or big. Our skin is an ecosystem. So Munna Chetri is saying aquarium is a man-made ecosystem which is designed for fishes and other aquatic animals along with aquatic plants. Yes, but every other, for example, a predator fish may not be allowed here. Right? Anyway, we can have more objections. Let's see this. Yeah, rain puddle. Yes, right. I was looking for that word. Thank you, Mita. Is this an example of an ecosystem? This is a zoo enclosure. Will this be called an example of an ecosystem? Why or why not? Vijay Tamang is saying limited requirement of materials. Yes, correct. Ruth is saying total biotic and abiotic components of the environment are not present. Ruth, are you talking about the current one? Naresh Gurung is saying natural ecosystem means presence of total number of living and non-living things, but aquarium is limited. That's why it's artificial. Okay, correct. He's saying that there are few living and non-living things, selected living and non-living things. So coming to zoo enclosure, will you call this an ecosystem? Galaxy J7 says it's an ecosystem. You have to justify your answer. If you agree with, if you say it's an ecosystem, you have to support your answer with reasoning. If you say it's not, support your answer with reasoning. Geeta is saying it has limitations of resources. Geeta, can you elaborate, please? Naresh is saying it is. Please support your answer with reasoning. Munna Chetri is saying zoo is natural ecosystem. Why do you think it's natural? And those who are saying it is not, then you have to say why it's not. So one response is no, there's absence of predators. Very good answer. There's no predator here. Rajesh said no, because it depends upon other ecosystem for food. So food will have to be brought from outside. The same answer has been given by Sangeeta. Food has to be supplied from outside. Any other objection? limited interactions and limited participants of interaction. Excellent. There are chosen inhabitants, and they have their interactions would be limited, are controlled. Animals are limited to a certain area. Area may be limited for a natural ecosystem also. So Naresh is saying number of prey and predators are unseen. Maybe what he means is that predators are not even allowed. I mean, nobody would be allowed to come in and eat up these animals. Galaxy J7 is saying there's available abiotic and biotic factors, correct. So this there you are correct that both biotic and abiotic factors are both there, but there are objections coming to the this being called an ecosystem. Lack of balanced resources. Vijay Tamam, you have to elaborate. What do you mean by balanced resources? Geeta is saying living organisms are bound to survive in the resources provided from outside. Yes, so many resources will have to be provided from outside for these living beings to survive in a zoo enclosure. Any other objection to this being called an ecosystem? Or any other reasoning for this this being called an ecosystem? If you support that this is an ecosystem, you have to give more reason. Ma'am, class going on. I will talk to you later. Oh yes, very good attendance. Thank you. Yeah, your joint director just called to ask if there was sufficient attendance. I said very good attendance and very good participation is there. So zoo is also an artificial ecosystem because it needs to be maintained by humans. Vijay Tamang is saying every material is provided from outside. Correct. So many materials are provided from outside. What about wastes? What about wastes? Any observation on wastes generated here? Manoj has said animals are not given independence to choose their living. Correct, absolutely. They don't live as per their choice. They have to choose from whatever is provided. At times, we see very pathetic zoo enclosures, very poorly made, very limited space. We see cages and so on. Even here, this is probably for birds, and birds won't be allowed to fly. Maintained by humans. Correct. Waste are cleared by humans. Yeah, so the zoo enclosure is often cleaned by humans, not naturally cleaned. How about this one? This is a tough one. Yeah, Sangeeta is saying animals will not be exposed to all the natural resources. It will be limited to what humans have provided or made. Yeah, correct. But what would you say about a human dwelling? Will this be treated as an ecosystem? One dwelling or set of dwellings? This one is a little difficult. Galaxy J7 thinks it's an ecosystem because it has no boundary. Any other reason you think it's an ecosystem? And are there other people who think it is not an ecosystem? Tikaram Ghimri has raised hand. Do you want to speak? If anyone wants to speak, they'll have to tell us on chat. Sangeeta Lama is saying humans are free to dwell where they want according to their needs. So she thinks it's an ecosystem. What do others think? Do you agree with Sangeeta, Galaxy J7? Norbu is also saying yes. So is there complete agreement that it's an ecosystem? Think of the criteria, or rather the definition we built, or is there any objection? So Milling has said this is an ecosystem because there's an interaction between living humans, plants, insects, and non-living soil, air, water components. So yes, it has wide area. So many people are saying yes. So will you allow a wolf to enter this ecosystem? Will you allow mosquitoes and flies to come in freely and dwell freely? Raju is saying human dwelling is an integral part of ecosystem. See, we may think of a very large area, but right now we have to take about this dwelling or a set of dwellings. So now Thupden is saying it is just a habitat for humans. So, I mean, so now three people have said it's not an ecosystem. So you have to give more reasons why you think it's not an ecosystem. You have to support your answer with reasoning. See, this exercise has led to a very, very good debates in sessions, even debates within children, debates between children and teachers. Children give such excellent reasoning for this one. Roshan Rai is saying it's not an ecosystem because some of them we don't want to our neighborhood, which harmful for us. Yes, so Roshan Rai is saying that some organisms, some living beings will not be allowed, which are harmful. For example, you may not like snakes to come in, wolves to come in, mosquitoes, parasites, flies, all these to come in, rats to come in. You may actually kill rats. Or even if they are friendly, you will not like to have deer coming and eating up your food, or rabbits coming and eating your food. Isn't it? What about, suppose too many pigeons come into your kitchen? Will you allow? Or not kitchen, a room. Too many pigeons come in and make droppings. Will you allow? So, I mean, we will not allow. So there are more reasons. Okay, Dependra is saying it's part of an ecosystem. Humans are also part of it. They need shelter. They need to build home for shelter for their family and children. That's correct. See, we have built these shelters. That's completely right. But my question is, why we cannot call it an ecosystem, or why we can call it an ecosystem? So, I mean, is, I mean, right now there is one objection that predators or parasites will not be allowed in. This is one objection. So you might say that, okay, in a natural ecosystem, also if a dwelling is built, suppose a nest is built, a bird does not allow predators to come in, tries to fight. Okay, maybe. So maybe you, like you are saying, we are also part of this ecosystem and we are protecting our space. But there can be some more objections to this being called an ecosystem. Are there any other objections? Vijay is saying it's an ecosystem because of biotic factors like family members, pets surrounded by plants, etc. So because of the living things, he thinks that it's an ecosystem. So Vijay Kamal, what do you say to the objection that some living beings will not be allowed? So biotic factors are there, but some are definitely not allowed. And there can be more objections. So my question is, are there any other objections? If you don't raise them, I'll raise them. And friends, here as a teacher or rather teacher educator, I'm saying that giving counter examples to children or asking counter examples is an excellent device to build an idea. To build the idea of an ecosystem, you have to give examples of non-ecosystems also. Because then it leads to noticing many features. Geeta is saying it's a modified ecosystem for the welfare of human beings. Notice the word welfare of human beings. Does any ecosystem, a natural ecosystem, exist for the welfare of a single species? Even if it's a top predator, think of a lion or a vulture or a hawk. I mean, a lion also is attacked by others, is bitten by parasites. So sharing is saying it's more like a territory within an ecosystem. Yeah, it can be. It's a territory completely for the benefit of the human. Food is brought from outside, waste is taken out and left elsewhere. And so if you look at it from the point of view of food, waste, the species that are allowed in, the species that live are only those that can be, which are tolerated by humans. And it's like welfare of humans is the top logic here. An ecosystem, a natural ecosystem does not exist for welfare of any species, any single species. Geeta is saying other organisms cannot modify the ecosystem to their needs, but humans can. Other organisms do modify. Birds build nests, or they like create holes, or even in a pond they dig holes. Beavers build dams, and so on. I mean, other organisms do modify. They modify to a large extent also, but humans do it at the expense of every other species. That's the important part. I mean, no other species can be benefited benefited here unless the human wants it. So this is complex, and I think sufficient time should be given to this one at least. So Rajesh is saying it consists of human, pets, and abiotic factors too. Hence, it's an ecosystem. Humans have relationship with other animals like cat, dog, and birds also. That's correct. But you have to answer the objections, Rajesh. One objection was that a wolf cannot be a human pet. Mosquitoes and flies cannot be human pets. And even pigeons and rabbits won't be allowed to come and live as they wish and in whatever numbers they want. And even dogs and cats, you won't allow the house to be filled up with dogs, or have many cat families or a full group of cats to live, or full community of birds to live. So there are many ways in which this does not like you can object to this being an ecosystem, but let's explore more. I mean, this is which are not ecosystems is a complicated question and requires sufficient thought. And my request to you as teachers is, you may have noticed that when we ask a question, we wait. Waiting is very important to allow children to think through their answers. Teacher wait time is one of the strongest factors in getting good reasoning from children. Biggest factors. Teacher wait time in usual classrooms is too little. It's often 1 or 2 seconds or 3-4 seconds. It should be far longer for children to think through their answers, for them to gather courage, confidence, to speak up or clarify their reasoning. Children need time. Okay. How about a sheep farm? So Chang Juk is saying no. Why not? This also has biotic, abiotic factors. Interactions between them. Gita has said human tame animals which do not harm them. Yes, correct. So Changjuk has said limited interactions with other organisms and nature. True. Limited interactions. Any other objections? No interaction, no interrelationship between other species of organisms. Some organisms are not independent. Correct. So we do not see independence even for the sheep. They can't run away where they want. If they want to migrate, they won't be allowed. They are tied through fences and chains. They are fed from outside often. Many other species are not allowed. Predators will certainly not be allowed. Predators and parasites and pests. Yeah, the food is not generated in the ecosystem. Parasites may be present, but parasites, I mean, in a sheep farm, they may use medicines to kill parasites. Pesticides may be used. So the same applies to this one, agricultural feed. What about this? Is this an example of an ecosystem? Is everyone hungry now? Very few answers. It's almost time for today's session. So we will carry on in the next session, but I'm hoping to finish this one. Deepak Sharma is saying disturbing ecosystem, which means it disturbs you. Okay. Tencho is saying session is too long. Rajesh is saying yes, it's an ecosystem. Tencho, what is the recommended length according to you? Suchitra is also saying yes, it's an ecosystem. Tencho is saying maximum 1.5 hours. The trouble is, Tencho, we have a lot of topics. And if we take 1.5 hours, every single topic will take 4 weeks. We'll be able to finish very few. So I don't know which is the choice you will take. And then there are academic, like in the academic calendar, there are timings when teachers are just not free. There are exam timings, there are other timings when teachers are not free. So we don't get the full year. So once again about human field, this agriculture field, we have yes and no answers. Humans have killed other organisms, Galaxy J is saying. Roshan Rai is saying because there are biotic and abiotic. Galaxy J7 is saying they disturb other animals and plants. Yes, so much of this reasoning can be applied. Why it can be called an ecosystem, but why it cannot be called an ecosystem, artificial ecosystem. So since our time is nearly over, we will take the answer in the next week. But next week, we don't want to spend time on this question, really, not on counter examples, but developing the idea of firstly food chains, food webs, and how matter and energy flows through an ecosystem, and a little about biodiversity. So many important factors of an ecosystem are remaining, which we will take in the next session, ecosystems 2. And I will request you to think more about an agriculture field, why it can or cannot be called an ecosystem. Meanwhile, I will ask if the next session is going to be on Friday or Saturday. One answer is come no, because same kind of plant species is being allowed to grow. And Vijay has said because of temperature, humidity, soil, water, relative humidity, light and wind. Not an ecosystem because there's no interaction with other species, as pesticides may be sprayed for better production of crops, many weeds may be uprooted. So already objections coming in. And there's a preferred species. There's a preferred species. If it's a rice field, rice is the preferred species. If it's a wheat field, wheat is the preferred species. And that's according to choice of humans. Yes, so there are like many ways we can object to this. So I will end for today, except that thank you so much for participating so well. I just want to ask, next one should be on Friday or Saturday. You can quickly give your choice here. We will create a WhatsApp group also, which many of you can join, where we can share resources, we can share links and so on. So everyone's saying Saturday. We will ask the education department, and this will be as per the choice. Manisha has just shared the Facebook page. Manisha, you'll have to share the YouTube link as well. So she has shared our Facebook page. Many sessions are stored there, but many are there on our YouTube channel as well, which we'll share. Rajesh is saying Sunday is better. We will take the advice of the education department, because this series is happening because of the Sikkim education department taking active interest. And we are very thankful for allowing us to reach out to you people, so that many ideas can go through Sikkim classrooms. So thank you for being there. See you next time. And hopefully we'll have equally good interaction next time as well. Prem Kumar has given his appreciation. Thank you so much. Manisha, can you please copy this? Friends, any positive feedback from your side, positive and negative, is very helpful for us. We can put it on our website, as well as we can, the critical feedback can be used for improving our sessions. So we will, next time onwards, we'll create a WhatsApp group, which you can join as per your wish. Ruth is saying she's in your group, but nowadays no links are being shared. Ruth, we had stopped open session for a long time because the school system had become very, very busy when schools opened post-COVID. Everyone was very troubled about finishing syllabus, so we had very little attendance, so we had actually stopped. We will slowly resume those, but for Sikkim teachers, this series will go on every week. So you don't have to worry about open sessions. You are being allowed to join our sessions from your department. So, and we'll keep offering various topics. And we'll try shuffling between physics, chemistry, biology, and environmental science to the extent possible. We have a large number of topics to offer now. So we'll continue for 1 year at least, or hopefully longer. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye for now. I'm ending the session for now.